Y'all said amen. Amen. In Numbers chapter 12 this morning, beginning at verse number 1, as you stand to your feet, Numbers chapter 12, beginning at verse number 1. Certainly this morning we have been edified. Prayerfully God has been glorified. We certainly thank those who have led us in our devotional service this morning. It's good to see each and every one of you. Amazing praise. If you missed them this morning, you missed the treat. Nikki was just beside herself. I don't know, that girl caught on fire this morning. Lord, I wasn't tired of her burning yet, but she put the fire out. But we thank God this morning for her. Thank God for each and every one of you, the brethren who led us, Brother Say, prayed us to the mountain this morning. Thank God for him. And then you certainly have cooperated with the singing, lifting of your voices. It's good to have my good friend, my fellow comrade in this preaching business, Dr. Louis Lugo, with us this morning. Amen. Y'all say amen. One thing we do is honor the men of God. It's just good to know that he came to be with us and he didn't have to preach. Every now and then folks show up only when they want to preach. But he came this morning and he said he don't have to preach. As a matter of fact, I wasn't going to preach, but for some reason I woke up this morning. I'm feeling a little bit better. Amen. So I thank Brother JR for always being ready to stand in. And so this morning I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to do it quickly. So if you'll pray for me and pray with me this morning. Let's look at this text quickly. I'm just going to try and extract a thought this morning quickly from this text. So follow me if you can. Here in the 12th chapter of the book of Numbers, there's a situation here. There's a situation. Somebody say it's complicated. It's complicated. Moses was the leader. Y'all know that. But Aaron and Miriam's sister and brother started complaining. They started talking about the man of God. They started talking about Moses behind his back. And the text says that God didn't like it. And so what God did was God said to them, Moses, Aaron, and me, meet me in the door of the tent. The Bible said that God came down in a pillar of a cloud. And God said to Aaron and to Miriam, come here. Come here. And he said to them, listen, whenever I have a servant, I speak to him by visions and in dreams. He said, but this one, you need to know this one that's got the run of the house. This one, I don't talk to just in dreams. I talk to him mouth to mouth. He speaks to me and I speak to him. When I get ready to talk to him, you need to know who you're talking about. The text says God got angry. And God left. And when God left, Aaron turned to the side and he looked at me. God turned that sister white. The text says she was white as snow. Let me tell you something. Every now and then you ought to check yourself. Because God has a way of dealing with them. But let's look quickly. Let's just look at one or two verses. Now I gave you part of the context, the hallway that I'm going to walk in. But there's something here. There's something here. I'm going to use this morning for a subject quickly. When trouble rises. When trouble arises. When trouble rises. That's not it. That's not the end of the story. When trouble rises. Look at verse 1. It says, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses. Didn't I tell you that? Because of the Cushite woman whom he had married. For he married a Cushite woman. Don't have time to deal with this scholars debate, what region she was from and what was her nationality, but Cushites were Ethiopians. So they can debate all they want, but if you know who an Ethiopian is, you know what region y'all from. They from. So the text says they were marrying about Moses' wife. He married that woman who was a Cushite. That's amazing. Isn't that something? Isn't that just like some of your kinfolk? They're always complaining and talking about who you married. Who your baby daddy is. But you don't never want to talk about who your baby daddy is. Let's talk about him. But that's not my subject. I'm just trying to make a point. But the text says in verse 2, and they said, had Jehovah indeed spoken only with Moses? Does God only talk to Moses? He's spoken with us also. And Jehovah heard. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men that were upon the face of the earth. I'm going to stop right there. I think you get the gist of it. Every now and then, you be careful. You be very careful who you go talking about. Text says God didn't like it. And God decided that let me show you how much I'm displeased with you putting your mouth on my man. But when Aaron saw it, Aaron said, oh my God. That's what the text said. You don't have to take my word. If you read it, he said, oh my God. Oh my God. It's right there in the text. It's right there in the text. Aaron said, oh my God. He said, Lord, Moses, please don't come down on us. And God said to him, listen, I tell you what, according to the custom and practice and the traditions, if her daddy was to spit in her face, for 7 days she'd have to stay outside the camp because she would be ostracized. So I tell you what, for 7 days I'm going to let her stay out there. Just to show her I have no respect of person. Y'all say amen? Amen? All right, y'all go ahead and be seated. Now listen. Quickly, listen. The text seems to suggest that the problem was every now and then we may not know our place. Every now and then there's something else that seems to suggest. It seems to suggest that every now and then trouble will arise. But there's a bigger point here that I don't want you to miss. When trouble does arise, this is what I want to stamp on your mind. I could go somewhere else, but I want to stamp this on your mind. When trouble does come, God will trouble your trouble. All right. I know some of y'all missed that, but just stay with me for a minute. When trouble comes, God will trouble your trouble. Most of the time, our problem is not so much as it's not possible for God to trouble our trouble, but we lack perspective. We lack understanding as children of God. We lack the ability to comprehend that God is with us to the point that God is interested in what happens to us. And so therefore, we generally take our situations into our own hands. Anybody gonna say amen? Amen? The problem is we lack direction. We don't lack time because we have plenty of time. The problem is we have 24 hours in a day, but we lack direction. We lack perspective. We don't really understand who's on our side. So if I can use this text just for a moment to show you that God seemingly is interested. If you're a child of God, God is interested in what happens not only for you, but what happens to you. Malcolm X said it this way, that this society's greatest crime against us as blacks was teaching us to hate ourselves. Right. Amen. We have a self-hate, we have self-doubt, we lack self-esteem, we lack belief in ourselves, we lack self-respect, and pride has been and continues to be one of the greatest obstacles that we have as black folk. Amen. Every now and then, we do the most damage to ourselves. Amen. And we don't understand that nobody can make you a failure. I'm on my way, just stay with me. Nobody can make you a failure. You got to do that to yourself. Amen. And it doesn't really matter how many times you try and you fail. You're never a failure until you start to believe on the inside. When you consider yourself a failure, that's when you become a failure. But as long as you don't give up, as long as you keep on trying, nobody can make you a failure. How do I know that? Let's pay attention to this story here, right here in this text. Israel was a wilderness congregation. It's right there in your text. Israel had no membership roll. They were bound together by blood. They had no prestigious members. In fact, they were descendants of an assortment of Bedouin farmers known as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They didn't have no padded pews to sit on when they came to church. When they came to worship, they stood in the presence of God Almighty. Their place of worship had no address. They didn't have a zip code that they went to. They worshiped on mountaintops. They worshiped in valleys. They worshiped in desert places. And very often they would even worship right on rocky ground. They didn't come to worship dressed in the finest garb. No, they came in garments that were soiled and stained from a rugged terrain. They came in marching shoes and sandals that had been worn out. They came in the clothes of warriors, but they had either been in a battle or they were on their way to a battle. And most of the time when they gathered for worship, they didn't come in and have no choir, no group, no instruments to play. No, when they came in, they just had songs, hymns, and spiritual songs. Their journey was composed of songs that they composed on their way to the promised land, a land that the Bible said flowed with milk and honey. In spite of the fact that they had no place to call home, they were wanderers and they were charged with an arduous task. Moses would say to God, listen, God, you don't get it. Moses probably was thinking to himself, listen, God, these are church folk. Not only do they not have my vision, they don't have your vision. When I go to pray, they start popping. When I talk about burning bushes, they think I've lost my mind. When I bought them your commandments from the mountain, they weren't sure where I had been. When we find that we can't agree on how to get from one mountain to the next, let alone talk about taking on a project of this magnitude that you're talking about. God, these are worldly folk. I know they're church folk, but these are worldly folk who seem more concerned about gold than they are about God. They want to build golden calves. They want something they can see, something they can touch. They're not interested in saving souls. They're not interested in glorifying you. They're not interested in coming, giving their all to you. They want to come and they want to offer a token sacrifice. They want to throw something on the altar and walk away saying, didn't we have church? Didn't we have a good time? They're not interested in folk that are lost. They're not interested in teaching anybody the gospel. They're not interested in working out their salvation. They're not even interested in helping one another. When I talk about praise, they talk about party. And you know the problem with trouble, the problem with evil is simply that it causes trouble in our lives. And most of the time, the trouble that arises always comes from places you don't expect. Now, y'all can say amen if you want to. It always arises in a context from people and situations, sources, where you least expect. There's always going to be the last person that you thought it was going to be. There's always going to be somebody that you didn't see it coming. There's always going to be somebody that that you thought had your back. It's always going to be somebody you thought was on your side. That's the way trouble is. This journey, this Semitic tribe that we know as the Hebrews, the Israelites, were traveling from their enslavement in Egypt to the land that we call Canaan, the promised land. But trouble kept coming up all along the way. On their way to the goal to their own land, Moses ran into obstacle after obstacle. Stuff just kept coming up. Stuff that Moses wasn't mentally prepared to deal with. He emotionally, he wasn't prepared to deal with. Physically, he wasn't prepared to deal with. And I don't know why you're looking at me, but if you live long enough, your body gonna betray you. It's gonna break down. You gonna get sick. I don't care if you live long enough. Some of the folks you thought love you gonna be the very ones stab you in your back. Now you looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, but you keep listening. You're gonna wake up one day saying there's a stranger in my house. Here's the problem. Here's one of the problems. They weren't always able to take the direct route to the promised land. And they had to go through enemy territory. And because they weren't prepared to face the giants every now and then, they had to take the roundabout way. And I need to pause right here and make this point. Every now and then, on your way to your destination, every now and then, when God has shown you a place, when God has given you a perspective for your life, when God has pointed out to you where he wants you to go, every now and then, you're not going to be able to take a straight path to get there. More often than not, you're going to have to go the long way around. Why? Because God has to put up some detour signs. And you don't need to be afraid of the detour. Our problem is we don't want to deal with nothing. But can I tell you the truth? God knows if he doesn't detour us, if he doesn't interrupt our plan, if God doesn't bring us down just a little bit, some of us are a mess and we don't have nothing. But every now and then, because of detours, you don't have detours? Some of us have marriage detours. Some of us have financial detours. Some of us have employment detours. Health detours. Relationship detours. I'm not on your street yet. Church folk detours. But if you trust God, like Moses trusted God, you got to understand that trying to move your family, trying to move people, trying to move your husband, your wife, your children from a familiar past to an unfamiliar future, the challenges that you have to go through to take them to places that they've never been, you can expect some trouble along the way. Why? Because it's important that you don't always have a straight path. Amen. Because God is interested in developing us. And our development begins when we struggle every now and then. So you think right now you got the world in a jug and the stopper in your hand. You better enjoy that smooth ride right now. Because it's going to get rough in a little while. Something's going to come up. I see some of you looking at me like, I ain't interested, I ain't worried about that. All right? Listen, watch this. Because the Israelites ended up going the long way around. Pharaoh, when they left Egypt, Pharaoh sitting there, Pharaoh said, let me, they lost. let me go after them so I can re-enslave them. Now, I'm trying to show you the thinking of your haters. Let me, I call them haters, but pay attention. He said, let me go after them because they're in a vulnerable moment. So by the time he caught up with them, they're at the brink of the Red Sea. Y'all remember that? They're surrounded by high mountains. And that's what happens when you're trying to go forward, when you're trying to do something worthwhile, when you're trying to outgrow something, when you're trying to get away from somebody. Say amen when you can. When you're in a vulnerable state, the devil always come after you because you think by now I'm free of it. I'm over it. But when you find yourself vulnerable, the devil is sitting there saying, let me go get them back.
All right.
Why? Because he never ceases to try to re-enslave you. Let me let that sink in. You wonder where it's coming from. You ain't heard from them in 6 months. You ain't heard from them. And all of a sudden, they show up. All of a sudden, you bump into them. Why? Because the devil knows your Pharaoh knows that if he can re-enslave you, he never stops trying to recapture his slaves. Okay. Your Pharaoh may be racism. It may be sexism. I know. It may be an abusive past. It may be guilt. It may be fear. It may be lust. It may be nicotine. It may be alcohol, cocaine. It may just be overeating. Why? Because he's always looking for a vulnerable moment that he can recapture you, that he can bring you back. Why? Because after a while, you're going to say to yourself, I done tried it before, and I can't do it. Ooh, y'all working. Listen, here's what happens. Here's what happens. Because we experience divine delays, we think the devil is in control. Because we don't get to where we're trying to go to in a hurry, or because the doors don't open right away, or because we don't get the job right away, we experience divine delays. And in the process of experiencing that, we determine that God's not with us. Here they are. They're out here. And look what happened. The food runs out. That's a divine delay. Some shortages on their journey come up. And to them, they interpret that as something's wrong. Most of y'all would say God don't like ugly.
Amen.
Who's seeing? Somebody doesn't see it. But every now and then, everything that happens in your life, and God doesn't let you get the job, the appointment, the assignment, is not because God is not for you. He knows you're not ready. I done told you before. Some of y'all can quit playing. Lord, if you just let me win, I promise you, I'm going to get a church. Believe me, I'm not against you winning, because I want you to get a church. That's not my problem. That's not my fight. That's not my fight. My fight is, I know you don't give nothing if you haven't given yourself to it. If you haven't given yourself to the church, you're not going to give your money to the church. So if you can't fool me, I know you can't fool God. So the Lord, if you just let me get a food, let me get a win, I promise. I was on divine delay, but listen, what happens? What happens? Here it is. We experience shortages. We experience setbacks in our journey. We have shortages of faith, vision, endurance. Anybody gonna say amen? We have shortages of patience with God, and consequently we quit working for God. Hello? Not only did they run out of bread, but they came to a place where the water was even bitter. I don't have time to put that where you can drink it, but listen, every now and then, can I tell you, any journey, any place worthwhile, you can expect some bitter disappointments, some bitter discouragements, some setbacks. Why is that important? Because we're just in the February and some of you are quitting already. Some of you made up your mind already this year that the journey isn't worth fighting for. Some of you already declaring it's over. I'm out. Every now and then people will give you stuff you can't swallow. You find yourself in a place of drought. You'll pray. Receive no word from God. There'll be no sign in your spirit. There'll be no clue as to what you're supposed to do. But don't you misunderstand the purpose of you being where you are. Because most of us feel like the heavens are not open, the flag is not raising, that somehow or another God has separated us from our destiny. That's not true. You're just not ready. Because if you win a whole lot of money with your mindset right now, you're going to be broke by this time next month. Some of you next week. Why? Because you haven't understood yet the importance. And this is where the frustration comes in. Your real joy, your real completeness about you will not come as a result of what you buy for yourself. It's never going to come as a result of you looking at your checkbook saying, look what I got. It's never going to come because of a car sitting in the yard or a house you living in. It'll always, your greatest self comes as a result of what you do for somebody else. There's a higher purpose, and that's what you were created with. That's why when you don't save anybody, when you don't teach anybody, when you don't love anybody enough to invite them to church and to a Bible study, that's why you walk around feeling void of substance. Because everything is about you. No inspiration can keep you going. There ain't no hiding place from pressure. Just emptiness. But I need to close by telling you, you ought to expect some drops in your life. You ought to expect some dreams in your life where everything's coming out and nothing seems to be coming in. But always remember this. God supplies. Listen. When it gets to the point where you don't feel nothing, and it seems as if that your very core has betrayed you, that's when God steps in. Now, it'll take you longer than I want to, but the text seems to suggest when Moses was at that place, and it got so bad that Aaron and Miriam even started complaining, God stepped in. I got it, Moses. Glory. I got it. Moses is necessary because of the people you leading not going to understand it if I take them straight there. But listen, Aaron and Miriam, I didn't expect this from you. Right. I don't know who Aaron is this morning. All right. And I don't know who Miriam is. But God is trying to tell you something. All right. You're only one know God?
Mercy, Lord have mercy. Preach.
Don't God talk to me too? There's not a point of God doesn't talk to you.
Amen.
God didn't call you. And the difference is what he says to you is one thing, but he's not expecting from you what he expects from me. So every now and then God has to show you you're out your league. You're above your pay grade. You better pick on some of them on your level. Folk always talk. One guy told me, he said, man, if I was as big as you, I'd fight a bear.
Mercy. Lord have mercy.
I always tell them, you go, there's some little bears out there in the woods. Sure, pick on one your side. Listen, I gotta quit. I don't want to, but I gotta quit. Listen. Can I leave you with this? I need you to know, you gotta expect some new enemies.
Right.
You gotta quit. You gotta quit giving up.
Yes.
Because a new attack comes. That's what happens. The devil resents your blessedness. The devil resents how powerful he knows you are and how powerful you can become. And while you sitting there stewing over the one or two little things you see about yourself that you think is impressive, God is not impressed with that. And what God is saying is there's so much more I have for you. There's so much more I want to do with you. But I can't get to you because you're so self-centered.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Trouble. What you get by achieving your goal is never as important
That's right.
as who you become. You want to be the greatest preacher. You want to be the greatest song leader. You want to be, that's all right. Who are you though once you get there? You want to be the baddest. You want to be the cutest. You want to be the finest. You want to be, all right, you got it. Now what are you? Who are you now?
All right.
Amen.
You can expect, if you've got any kind of anointing or calling on your life, things will get tougher. Why? Because of haters, doubters, people who are visionless.
Yes.
They always see in you what you don't see for yourself. Faint-hearted, weak in faith, lazy people. Hello? They never are willing to pay the price to become what they know they can become. So they'll sit around and criticize others whom they see God working through. And all the while they are content being satisfied slaves.
Amen. Talk about it.
And so the only thing I hear from you is I'm tired. I'm over it. I'm out. I done had enough. But when did you do anything? We complain about the inconvenience, but we never pursue anything worthwhile. I know this is a tough lesson. I know this is tough for you to hear because you're ready to quit. But you need to understand when things take long and they're difficult, expect people to want to turn back and talk about how good it used to be. You remember when it wasn't never good. No, it ain't never been good for you. You're just talking about, remember how good it used to be? No, listen, what is that? That's a sign. When trouble comes, when trouble arises, you most of the time change your direction. Hello? What you ought to change is your decision, not your direction. stay with it. I know you wasn't expecting. I know you wasn't expecting this morning. But every now and then, I have to ask myself, what is it about God that knows when I'm cheating on myself? What is it about God that won't let me be satisfied with being less than I know I can be? What is it about God that has to knock me down in order to pick me up for me to realize you're doing so much less than I've given you the ability to do? You're becoming so much less. You're so much more than that. And you ought to question, you ought to challenge yourself. Every day you're so much more than you've become. What is it about you that wants to stay regulated to being satisfied with nothing? How do I know that's just immoral? Because we've got a Savior.
Yes.
He's enduringly strong. He's entirely sincere. He's eternally steadfast. He's immortally gracious. He's imperially powerful. He's impartially merciful. You ought to say amen. He's the greatest phenomenon that has ever crossed your horizon. He's God's son. Oh, he's a sinner savior. He's a captive ransom. He's the breath of life, the centerpiece of our civilization. He stands in solitude by himself. He's just God all by himself. He's unparalleled. He's unprecedented. He's august. And he's unique. He's undisputed. He's undefiled. What is it about you that you ought to settle for less? What is it about you that you think you can just throw your hands up, give up on God, turn around, and not reach for perfection? No. He's the lofty idea in philosophy. He's the highest personality in psychology. Somebody said he's the cornerstone, the capstone. He's the stumbling stone of all religion. If there's something in you that you're not satisfied, it just very well may be that God won't let you rest without challenging yourself. When trouble rises, God always troubles your trouble. You just have to have enough faith to understand the process. If there's something in you, it's not your trouble, it's you. I'm tired. Oh, listen, Deacon done sucked me out. I'm tired. I was tired when I got up. Listen. Here's the challenge. I don't want to be personal with you, but the truth of the matter is guilt has done a number on all of us. Guilt has robbed us of our joy. Guilt has caused us to suffer in ways that are just unparalleled and unprecedented. There's no reason for us to walk around with our heads down like we're doing. There's no reason for us to have this defeated spirit that we have in the church. Unbelieving believers. There's no reason for it. But guilt has done that. Guilt has zapped us of our energy. And consequently, how you doing? Oh, just another day, same old thing. Another day, same old thing. Has stolen our joy for living. Why? Because we're satisfied. We let people do stuff to us that we know we ought not be doing.
Amen.
But that's because of your guilt. You satisfied with letting people handle you? And you won't tell them enough is enough? You won't show them enough is enough? And we all do it. But at some point you ought to get to the place where you tell them, church out. You done handled me for the last time, church out. I know you ain't gonna say amen. Just look at me. Here's the parity. Here's the problem. Some of you are not members of the church. And for some reason, you become satisfied thinking that God is somehow going to give you a hall pass. God's just going to let you in. Jesus came to judge sin. Now, I know we don't talk about sin. It's a forgotten word. But sin is real. This church isn't growing because of sin. Hello? I want to say amen. Tell the truth, shame the devil. What is it? It's the sin that's in here. It isn't always the sin that you commit. It's the sin that's in here. Why? Because you know stuff. I told you. Doctors tell us that we are as sick as our sins.
That's right. That's right.
Sagaciously, your problem is not what I know, it's what you know. And what you know won't allow you to climb over you because all your hope is in you.
Yep.
But Paul says in Romans chapter 2 that the day will come that God's going to gather us all together. And we're going to give an account of the things that we've done in this body. God's going to judge us. So I say to you, if you're not a member of the Lord's body, if you're not a member of the church, let me tell you how to start your journey with God. The first thing you have to do is recognize that God is real. Now, I know you look around and you see all the sin that's going on in the world. You think everybody, that has absolutely nothing to do with you. Because every one of us don't stand before God for himself. And just as sure as you think God doesn't see, God sees everything. God knows everything. And I say to you, when you stand before God, he's going to ask you one question. Why didn't you obey the gospel? Why didn't you give your life to my son Jesus Christ? Why didn't you answer the call when you heard the gospel preached to you? The death burial. When you understood that you were in your sins and that I was a loving God, but I'm going to judge sin. Why didn't you obey when you had a chance to obey? Why did you close your eyes in death? Why did you die without getting yourself right? When you stand before God, you'll hear him say, depart from me. You say, well, God, I gave money, I supported. He'll say, listen, I never knew you. That's one thing. But obeying the gospel is something else. And so this morning, you've got one question you need to answer. Are you at peace with God? Have you heard the gospel of Jesus Christ? Have you heard how he died, how he was buried, that he rose again? Have you come to the realization that you need God? Have you walked down these aisles? Have you given your hand to me and your heart to God? Have you been baptized in water for the remission of your sin? If not, this moment is for you. Why? Because one day, God's going to show up. You ask the rest of us sitting in this room.
Amen.
When God shows up,
Amen.
no mama in them, no dad in them, and no other them can help you when God shows up. It's just you and God. Pearl used to tell us, you can get that body to Creel, but the rest of that belongs to me. Some of y'all don't know who Creel is. That was the Undertaker. Yeah, you know what that meant. It was retribution time. I'm saying to you, one day God's going to come back. But right now, he's so loving. He's calling you. He wants to have a relationship. And you need to obey him now. While God is at peace with you, you need to come. And if you're a child of God, I may not have done as good a job as I need to convey to you. Listen, trouble is nothing more than a sign that God is trying to get you to quit settling for less than what you are. Come on, stand up. Come on, stand up. Come on, stand up. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer that you'll listen to the voice of God as God talks to you this morning. That God does his best to persuade you to come out of sin. Give your life to Jesus Christ this morning. Be baptized in the water revival. Baptism for the remission of your sin. Will you do that this morning? And if you need prayer, it's prayer time now. For those of you that stand in need of prayer, I wouldn't be satisfied knowing that God wants to do so much more for you. and stay the way you are. Will you come right now while together we sing this song of invitation? Will you come?
He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. And I know the storm clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow, but I know that I'll tell the world when I go, and I know that I found a Savior. He's sweet, I know, and I know that He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know, and I know the storm clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow, and I know that I'll tell the world I go, and I know that I found a Savior. He's sweet, I know. I know that He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. And I know the storm clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow, and I know that I'll tell the world I go, and I know that I found a Savior. He's sweet, I know. Show